Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamu alaikum. We are discussing the salient features of bryophytes. In the previous lecture, we have discussed about the characteristic features of gametophyte of bryophytes. We have seen that gametophyte is the main plant body of the bryophytes, which is haploid, dominant, long-lived, and nutritionally independent phase in the life cycle. Now we will take up the second phase of the life cycle, that is sporophytic phase. This sporophytic phase is diploid sporophytic phase, which is diploid, short-lived, and is always physically and nutritionally dependent on the gametophytic phase. And we can say that sporophytic phase, which is the diploid phase in the life cycle of the bryophytes, it is generally short-lived and is always physically as well as nutritionally dependent on the gametophytic phase. Because the main phase is gametophyte and this sporophytic phase, it is short-lived and is always physically and nutritionally dependent on the gametophytic phase. This is the first feature of the sporophytic phase. Now the second feature of the sporophytic phase is, we have seen when male and female gamete fuses, they produces a diploid zygote. This zygote undergoes multiplication to produce a multicellular structure, what we call as embryo. This multicellular structure we call as embryo. And a diploid zygote, after fertilization of the fusion of male and female gamete, we get a diploid zygote. This zygote undergoes multiplication to produce a multicellular structure. That multicellular structure we call as embryo. This embryo develops into a sporophyte, that is called sporogonium. And this diploid embryo, it develops into the sporophytic phase, into the sporophyte, into the diploid phase. That sporophyte we call as sporogonium. Now the sporophyte, that is the diploid phase, sporophyte sporogonium is simple. And the sporophyte of bryophyte is simple and consists of foot, seta, and capsule only. And generally in plants, the sporophytic phase, that is diploid phase, it is differentiated into root, stem, and leaf. But in bryophyte, the sporophyte is the simple. It is the simple structure which consists of foot, seta, and capsule. It is having a fan-like structure, what we can say, having three parts: foot, seta, and capsule. This foot is anchored into the gametophyte, and it functions like a root. As we see in higher plants, root is anchored into the soil, which keeps the plant body erect. Similarly, in bryophyte, this foot, it acts, this sporophyte, it is physically as well as nutritionally dependent on the gametophytic phase. This foot, it keeps it anchored into the gametophyte, not into the soil, but into the gametophytic tissue or into the gametophytic body. This seta, it works like a stalk which pushes the capsule which pushes the capsule high up in the air for proper dispersal of spores. Yes, push kara yat spore capsules. Capsule is the spore containing sac, containing part. And it is the part which produces spores, that is the reproductive structures. Reproductive structures which ultimately produces the gametophyte, that is the main plant body of the. ये सीटा क्या करा कम यह बिल्कुल सिटमिच पे इत कन सिटम बाकियन ब्रांचन लीवन फ्रूटन फ्लावरन करा push high up into the air for proper functioning. Itha kana sheet kara it puts them high in the air for proper dispersal of spores, ताकि proper dispersal of spores गच्छे. ये capsule को. Now number third feature. Yus hasa ye sporogenous cells che, the sporogenous cells present in the capsule. Yim hasa yim sporogenous cells. And diploid cells, which are diploid cells. Yim kach hasa capsules mas. Katma hasa capsules. It is the spore producing part. Aman hasa undergo gasa, aman hasa gasa meiosis. They undergo meiosis. Reductional division. Yelmur meiosis gasa amch banawa haploid spores. यानी हैप्लॉइड गैमेटस रजाई अमो बने डिप्लॉइड zygote बनो embryo बनो मल्टी embryo बनो डिप्लॉइड फेज, दैट इज स्पोरोफिटिक फेज, या इस बनो स्पोरोफाइट या बनो स्पोरोगोयम व्हिच कंसिस्ट ऑफ फूड सीटा एंड कैप्सूल. तो अथ मज स्पोरोजीनियस टिश्यू स्पोरोजीनियस सेल्स व्हिच आर द पार्ट ऑफ द कैप्सूल अमन गसान meiosis and they produce haploid spores. These haploid spores, they are non-motile. And these spores are non-motile and are dispersed by wind. They are dispersed by wind. And the spores of bryophytes, they are non-motile and dispersed by wind. And the main agency which disperses these spores, that is the wind. And this spore which we have got now, this is the mother cell of gametophytic generation. This is the mother cell of gametophytic generation. And use gametophytic generation atmans hasa this is the first cell of the gametophytic generation. Then this spore after germination produce the gametophytic generation. Mar aach z tariqa tat kyunki aach z qasam bryophyte aa gaye lower bryophytes, liverworts. Aman manz hasa spore, it directly germinates into the young gametophyte, and this spore directly germinates and produces the young gametophyte. Magar yim higher bryophytes yemen is wana mosses ya musi wana aman maz kya gasa kam yasa spore yasa directly young gametophyte banawa ki balki ish banawa z stage godnechi banawa tat is wana protonema. And spore germinates into protonema. This protonema then develops into the gametophore. This protonema then develops into the gametophore. And it shows two phases during its development. First, the spore germinates and produces the protonema. Then this protonema further develops into the gametophore. This protonema and gametophore, they are considered to be the juvenile and adult stages of gametophyte development. In a gametophyte development, higher bryophyte the phase, the stage is juvenile phase, that is young phase, is adult stage, gametophore. And a juvenile phase is the protonema, and gametophore is the adult phase of these bryophytes. This is all about the characteristic of bryophytes. In the next lecture, we will discuss the classification of bryophytes. This is all for today. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.